I would like to dedicate this prayer to the memory of my grandfather, Chaplain Admiral Thornton Charles Miller, who was the district chaplain at Pearl Harbor during the bombing. I also, in honor of those here today who survived that horrific day. Let us humble ourselves now before God, remembering that what we do and who we are, although important, with far-reaching consequences for future generations, is but a moment in time compared to the eternity of God. As our minds are ushered back in time by the memory of the attack on Pearl Harbor because of today's anniversary, we thank you that as time has unfolded and decades have come and gone, justice, mercy, and humility have allowed former bitter enemies to become friends. Although the memories of that bygone day are still painful, especially for those who lived through that day and whom we now honor this day, you have redeemed the past, and we have seen both the United States of America and Japan work hand in hand to make this ever-shrinking world a better place for those who live in both nations.
Ladies and gentlemen, although we have official business to do today, we need to begin with remembering the significance of this day. And it is my honor to do that, and we will begin with the clerk reading the resolution.
Assembly resolution by Speaker Roberts, Assemblyman Connors, Assemblywoman Tucker and Cruz Perez, Assemblyman O'Scanlan, and all members of the General Assembly. Whereas on December 7, 1941, naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan launched a surprise attack on American base at Pearl Harbor. And whereas despite the deaths of thousands of American servicemen and women that this ruthless attack caused, as well as the great damage on American naval and Army installations, United States Army, Navy, Marine, and Coast Guard personnel initiated immediate resistance. And whereas the year 2009 marks the 68th anniversary of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, and all New Jerseyans are asked to remember the courageous Americans who lost their lives as a result of the Japanese attack. And whereas in response to the tragedy of December 7, 1941, American servicemen and women from all branches of the armed services bore heavy burdens and made great sacrifices to achieve ultimate victory and to preserve the ideas of freedom and democracy. And whereas it's altogether proper and fitting for the New Jersey General Assembly to join in solemnly remembering Pearl Harbor on its 68th anniversary, and be it further resolved by the General Assembly of the State of New Jersey that this House hereby honors and remembers those who survived and died at Pearl Harbor, and salutes and commends their bravery, loyalty, and love of country, and that of all American veterans.
Ladies and gentlemen, 68 years ago this week, the attack on Pearl Harbor marked the beginning of World War II. And from that tragic day forward, America would never be the same. The war lasted over 4 years, cost the lives of more than 400,000 American soldiers, and ultimately established our nation's place as the most powerful in the world. Now, nearly 7 decades later, we recognize and appreciate all those soldiers and their families. The accomplishments of these brave individuals cannot be overstated, and all are due our respect on the anniversary of this tragic day. While they deserve our appreciation year-round, the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, the tragic event that in many ways began it all, is the perfect day to recognize their contribution to our individual lives and our nation as a whole. I hope you will take a moment of your time to do so.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable members of the Assembly, it's a pleasure and an honor to stand before you today to speak about Pearl Harbor. I was stationed in Pearl Harbor 1976-77, long after the gentleman behind me that survived that attack. I also would like to thank you for the great relationship that this Assembly and the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the other veterans organizations have here in New Jersey.
It's been a long time since Pearl Harbor Day. I was 9 years old, and I remember that. I remember that day. It was a very, very day of infamy. And as I look around the room, I don't see too many people here that would be able to say that I remember when the day of Pearl Harbor. You know, there's something that keeps reminding me that freedom is only a generation away. If we don't take care of what we have today, we can't expect to take care of what's coming tomorrow.
I now have the great honor to introduce 2 survivors of Pearl Harbor, and I'm going to introduce Tom first, but that does not mean Mario is second. It means they are equals. They are equals.
I have a little speech here, which I wrote, and I named it A Veteran's Sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pride and pleasure that I come here today to represent all the Pearl Harbor survivors. Of more than 86,000 that were in Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, there now are around 3,000 alive in the United States. I survived Pearl Harbor, fought 1,100 consecutive days. My ship, the USS O'Bannon, patrolled off Honshu until August 27th, when she joined 2 other destroyers to escort the USS Missouri into Tokyo Bay for the surrender.
We could see the planes, they're very low. I don't know how high they were, possibly 200 feet, 300 feet. You could actually see the whites of their eyes. Some had goggles you couldn't see, but they fired machine gun into the area. There was a 3-foot sewer pipe going underneath the street. I went in there to hide, to protect myself, and when I got there was 3 or 4 other guys in there. But they made room for me. From there, we got our supplies, whatever, took a lot of training, and from there I went to Guadalcanal. From Guadalcanal to New Hebrides to Tulagi, and finally ended up in the Philippines.